Welcome everyone to Flyover Footy. My name is Matt Baker. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition episode of Flyover Footy, coming at you after our postseason look at the entirety of 2025 and a little bit of a peek ahead into the offseason. We bring you a special Soccer in the Lou edition of Flyover Footy. In case you didn't know, I joined Brendan Weezy on the Big 550 KTRS every Tuesday for Soccer in the Lou on that station. This week, we had the pleasure of being joined by Phill Grooms as well for a roundtable discussion. We try to do these 2, 3, or 4 times a year at big points in the season, before, during, and after, and with any big event that happens. Well, this week we did our postseason look at 2025 and covered what we know so far in the offseason on KTRS. So if you're joining us on YouTube right now, you're going to notice just a shortened version with just the first few minutes that I included with this video. But I encourage you, if you're on YouTube, join us on our podcast because you'll get the full Soccer in the Lou version. That was audio only, so we don't have any video to play of that. So tune into our podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast for that. Before we do that, though, I have a couple bits of news, one housekeeping on Flyover Footy, and one little bit of clarification about something you're going to hear in Soccer in the Lou, because I think that deserves a little bit of expansion. And I've gotten some club comments that I want to add context to for that. But other than that, there really hasn't been a whole lot of news that has broken from St. Louis City. We had speculated beforehand, before the season ended, that we may see a sporting director announcement in the week or the couple of weeks following the season's end. Well, as of the recording of this on October 30th, we don't have any of that news so far. In fact, the club has been extremely quiet on all matters when it relates to decisions on the sporting director and head coach front. And really their last bit of news that they released were the player options that we discussed last week on Flyover Footy. Past that, we are now entering the end of October and turning the page to November with no information on that front. Despite all speculation, some reports that had been out there that the club was looking to make a hire by the end of the month, it seems like that deadline, or that report rather, may not come to fruition. If and when it does, though, I promise we'll be back on Flyover Footy to cover that, to talk about all things, whatever ends up happening with the sporting director and the implications that has. For now, I do want to start off and really get into one thing that was mentioned on social media on Phill Grooms' account. If you didn't see that, if you're not aware, but you love listening to Flyover Footy, Phill posted on social media, quote, "Thought I'd make a special announcement, as a small announcement rather, as we wrapped up the final official show of the season last night, that I'll be stepping away from weekly shows at Flyover Footy." He says, "It's purely a family decision. I have 3 boys and their time needs grow yearly. It's not goodbye. I know I'll be filling in, and I hope to do some Open Cup coverage on the side. No big deal, and I just didn't want our wonderful, faithful listeners to wonder what was going on." Phill goes on to credit me as the driving force and calls me a goat in the community, but I do want to backtrack for a second and call Phill the OG GOAT. I said it on social media that Phill Grooms is the reason that I am a host on Flyover Footy. He invited me onto this show back in 2019 as I helped him rebrand it from STL Soccer Report that he had run since 2015 into the Flyover Footy that you know today, with Stuart Hultgren, Santiago Beltran, and our myriad of guests that we have. Phill goes on to say on social media, "You won't notice much change other than my absence. It's maybe the most vexing moment in all of City's short existence, and will need me," talking about me, "and the guys to help sort it all out." Lastly, Phill notes that he does have a lot of messed up, as he calls it, Flyover scarves. So reach out to Phill if you want one of these limited edition, scuffed, not really scuffed, but just issues with the scarf. They didn't print right, basically, when we attempted to do it the first time around. Reach out to Phill on DMs or email him at stlsoccerreport@gmail. That's our Flyover account, at gmail.com. So let Phill know if you want one. He says it's about $10 and he'll ship it out, or you can stop by his place of residence and pick one up. We do hope to have more information on a larger merchandise release later this winter, if all goes well. So stay tuned for that. But man, Phill is the OG GOAT. He's going to be missed on a weekly basis, but he's still going to be around chatting on social media, offering his takes. I'm still going to be chatting with him. So I would say he's not gone. It's just maybe goodbye for now of sorts. But hopefully he has some fun stuff cooked up for us in the Open Cup next year. And you never know what might happen when the new year rolls around and things tend to change. But we hope to continue talking to Phill and having him not only on Flyover, but seeing what else he might want to do with the U.S. Open Cup and his discussions. Lastly, before we get into Soccer in the Lou, one thing that you're going to hear on Soccer in the Lou is a report that I really broke on Tuesday. If you were listening live on KTRS, you might have heard this. With the postseason training that's going on for St. Louis City this week and last week, whenever they officially had it, because they haven't let media know when and where training is. It's not open to the media what they're doing this postseason training. In fact, the only reason we know about it is thanks to Marcel Hartle and his comments that kind of illuminated that and let us ask some more questions. But it's been a very closed system here for this postseason training. What I was able to gather and source and report is that Klauss is not at the postseason training for St. Louis City. I was able to identify from a couple different sources that Klauss is not at training. And when I reached out to the team for an official statement, the club statement to me is that Klauss is tending to some personal family matters back home, so he is not with the team. I also heard, and this was not verified by the club, but sources tell me that Klauss was potentially fined for not appearing with the team during this postseason training. I reached out to the club for comment on this and was told that, quote, Klauss shared his situation with us towards the end of the season. Out of respect for Klauss, whom is a valued member of the club, our conversations with him will remain private. So we'll hope to get more information on that in the future, but there's two things that could really mean. First of all, Klauss is under contract next year. His option was picked up. He's going to return in January. No concerns about that at all. This could be he had family matters to attend to that he couldn't or didn't want to change once they found out about this postseason training. And so he's willing to bite the bullet, so to speak, and pay the fine and go train. But it also could indicate what the importance of this postseason training is. If this is in fact true, then it means that this is a mandatory required training that they need all players currently under contract to be at. And it kind of raises the importance of what this postseason training could be in my mind. Is it in fact a showing off of sorts to sporting director finalists? Is there a reason behind the head coaching position that they need players here postseason to sort all this stuff out? We really hope to get more of a clarification on a lot of these soon, but we don't have a good timeline for it. The timeline that we thought we had of player options needing to be picked up by November 26th, that's already happened. So the club really is on their own timeline of what they're looking to do and when they're willing to share with the media, with fans, with everybody, what is going on and why it's going on. But postseason media availability, we assume, will still happen at some point, and we look to that as our next big opportunity to find out answers to some of these questions. Other than that, I hope you enjoy Soccer in the Lou. If you're on YouTube, check us out on the audio podcasts. But enjoy this roundtable discussion that we had with Phill, Brendan Weesey, and myself that aired originally on Tuesday, October 28th. That's it for me, Matt Baker, on Flyover Footy for this week. We'll be back again when there is more news to break, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of the holiday season that starts with Halloween and continues forward. As always, go City.